Piers Morgan versus Jada Pinkett Smith. Video analysis. Part 3. Hello. I'm H.G. Tudor. Welcome back to another insightful analysis of the behaviours of both Piers Morgan and, in particular, Jada Pinkett Smith to enable you to understand how two narcissists interact with one another, appreciating the cut and thrust of their behaviours as they both seek the prime aims, identifying the manipulations for you, and allowing you once again to get under the bonnet of the narcissistic dynamic, so that you gain complete understanding. Let us continue with the original footage.
Do you ever have arguments? Do you ever scream at each other?
No, we don't scream at each other.
Oh, do you have rules?
We cut that in the beginning because we're both very passionate people, so we knew we wouldn't survive screaming at each other. So, but yeah, we have our arguments and we have our disagreements and we have our debates and we have our, we have our problems. I mean, it's not perfect in the sense that, we don't have any issues. It's not an easy marriage.
What is the secret?
The secret
to a successful Hollywood marriage with all the particular pressures that fly in.
I've played the footage all the way to the end. Having digested that, there's a lot to unpick. The segment commences with Piers Morgan asking, "Do you ever have arguments?" It's provocation to suggest that all isn't rosy in the garden that is the house of Smith. This, of course, is challenge fuel. He's suggesting that all might not be well there. He's providing fuel because he's speaking directly to her. His words provide that fuel, the tone of them. The look in his eyes, his body language, facial expression all provide her with fuel from a proximate, non-intimate secondary source. However, there is a threat to her control, and this is immediately nullified by the response of Jada Pinkett Smith as she states, "No, we don't scream at one another." This is nullification of threat, facade management, but also a lie. Given the type of narcissist that she is, there will be many occasions that she exhibits cold fury towards Will Smith. We've seen that with the glacial death stare that she uses, the cold shouldering that goes on, a slight comment that causes, no doubt, Will Smith's balls to wither on the vine. In other instances, a sharp, terse word, not a raised voice. Even the video that I unpicked, which was the unearthed footage, showed her remaining calm as she devalued him, talking about his foolishness, a dismissive, haughty, arrogant tone. But there will be instances when she will bring the heated fury. The type of narcissist that she is relies primarily on cold fury, but there will be heated fury exhibited also. And when she is wounded by the behaviour of Will Smith, or where she's challenged, that fury will ignite, and in certain instances it will manifest as heated fury, resulting in her shouting and screaming at him. Indeed, it's been reported about the shouting matches that they've had in the past. For him, he also will shout and argue with her. He is not some completely defenceless empath. Whereas she manifests fury, he manifests anger. And there is a difference. And if you'd like to understand what that difference is, please do read my book, Fury, which you will find in the Knowledge Vault. She continues by stating, "Yeah, we cut that in the beginning because we are both passionate people." Notice that this use of passionate is used to describe, quite simply, yelling and screaming at one another. This is a mislabeling of the behaviour. This is dangerous. One of the things that often happens with the narcissistic dynamic between the narcissist and the empath is it is described as a tempestuous relationship, passionate, fire and ice, hot and cold, the fire and the snow, the fury and the calm, moments of it being awful and then making up with magnificent love-making sessions, the up, the down, the zeniths, the nadirs. What people don't realise is that such descriptions, when used by a narcissist to describe we are both passionate people, masks what's really going on. It's an abusive relationship, but it's labelled as something else, and the portrayal of this, along with the descriptions that I've just given you, creates a backdrop against which such behaviour is in effect normalised. Well, the relationship's just a passionate one. They're two fiery people. It's fire and ice between those two. Chalk and cheese, and when they met, it was murder. So consequently, in those situations, describing themselves as passionate is a mislabeling by her. She believes that she's passionate. Her narcissism causes her to believe that she's passionate. What it actually is the manifestation of her heated fury, and in this instance, facade management dictated by her narcissism. She continues by stating, "We know we would not survive screaming at one another." Well, Will wouldn't. Yes, we have our arguments. Yes, we have our disagreements. And we have our debates. We have our problems. This is not a genuine admission of there being problems, but rather she would be saying there are problems, but they're caused by Will, because, of course, her narcissism will never let her accept accountability for her behaviours. It's all Will's fault. That's that mislabeling that takes place. Furthermore, it creates a facade of, hey, we're just like you guys. We have our ups and our downs. You know, we argue. It isn't a paradise where we are, which creates an idea of relatability, something, of course, that Harry's wife would regularly seek to achieve. She continues, I mean, it's not perfect in the sense that we don't have any issues. It's not an easy marriage. This is a marriage where they're both multimillionaires, that they have access to networks, that they have more or less whatever they want because of the amount of money that they have. Homes all over the place, large home to live in, 3 children, people throwing invitations at them, fame, adoration, the whole shebang. Most people would say, I'll take that, thank you very much. But the reason why it's not an easy marriage is because of her need for control, and the instances where Will offends inadvertently that need for control. Her need for fuel, her need to manipulate, although she doesn't realise that's what she's doing. And that's what means that it's not an easy marriage. But her narcissism cannot allow her to know that it's her that causes the problem, and instead it creates the idea of, it's not an easy marriage, but no marriage is easy. Actually, internally, a healthy marriage is an easy marriage. Yes, as I've explained before, you may get a little bit cheesed off by your partner's failure to pick up her panties and the fact that she gets annoyed with you for leaving the proverbial top off the toothpaste. But between yourselves, there's never any real issue. The issues in a healthy relationship come externally. Somebody losing their job, somebody being bereaved, somebody suffering ill health. What the world throws at them can then impact upon the quality of their relationship. But as between themselves, it isn't a difficult relationship. It's what the world externally does that can make it that way. And of course, where you're dealing with the narcissist and victim dynamic, it is a difficult relationship because, first of all, you have the narcissist who is manipulating and devaluing the intimate partner primary source, and that intimate partner primary source will regularly offend the control of the narcissist without realizing they're doing so, and thus be seen as problematic. Piers Morgan then asks, what's the secret to a successful Hollywood marriage with all the pressures that fly in? Now, the honest answer would be manipulate the shit out of an empathic victim to gain control, fuel, character traits, and residual benefits. Of course, she's not going to say that because she doesn't know that's what it is. Instead, she announces rather piously, friendship. Friendship. You have to be friends. This exhibits delusion, facade management, and I can guarantee you that her behaviour towards Will Smith does not embody the concept of friendship, but again, she believes that it does. You have to be friends, and in that have a certain understanding of what is needed. I think that with marriages, people have to understand that we have to look at your marriage and what is needed in your marriage. For instance, maybe the friend of your son to take as a younger lover, and perhaps throwing around lots of word salad. Perhaps that's what she's referring to. Again, this is the assertion of control, not only over Morgan, but also over Will Smith, because he's brought back up on the radar because he's the husband, and also in terms of the assertion of control over the wider audience. She continues, and her face moves to that of a position of defiance as she states, not what people think your marriage should be, not what people want your marriage to be, but I have to look at my husband and look at what he needs as an individual, and he has to look at me and see what I need. And then we have to look at the union and see what the union needs, and we have to make decisions based on that, not based on what we think the marriage should be. Again, this is the assertion of control over Will Smith, over Piers Morgan, and over the audience generally. It continues this facade management. On that basis, of course, with that prescription as to what the marriage needs, then Will needs lots of spicy poontang. He needs tears on his wedding day. He needs to be told that she's pregnant, but she doesn't want to be pregnant, that he needs to be filmed without his agreement, he needs to be told where to be, what to say and what to do, and he needs to be told that his efforts on a 40th birthday are just a huge display of ego. From her perspective, what are her needs? Although she doesn't need it, of course, it's fuel, control, character traits and residual benefits. What does the union need? Well, based upon the information that we have, it needs a regular airing on the Red Table talk, without due concern for who that impacts upon and affects. It needs entanglements with young men who need help. It needs a browbeaten, ground-down, empathic husband. It needs a triumphant, arrogant, cold-hearted, glacial narcissist. It needs 2 fucked-up kids, and it needs the ghost of Tupac hanging around. This has been an exercise in understanding the behaviour of 2 narcissists, where they come together in more benign circumstances, where they are able to essentially gain what they need without there being a fight, without there being a clash. They can achieve what they want. There are instances where there were threats to control posed by Morgan towards Pinkett Smith, but she nullified them. She did not threaten Morgan's need for control. They come out of this. He has a supposedly interesting guest. He asserts control over his viewers. She has maintained the facade. She looks like she knows what she's talking about in terms of a good marriage. She praises Will Smith, but we all know, of course, the reality of what has gone on and the way that she has treated him. Please do like this video. Recommend it to people so that they understand the dissection of the narcissistic dynamic. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.